Hey there, Internet. It's me, Broken Terrain, and I've got a very cool video for you today. Something just a wee bit different than what I usually do. Check out this energy tracker I made for my pen and paper RPG game. I'm going to show you how I made it and how you can apply the same thing to your game right after the drop. I can hear you right now. Broken Terrain, you say. Why? Why make an energy tracker? It makes no sense. Well, let me show you. Here's my character sheet for Sindora. She is the broken character that I'm playing currently. And she's like a magical Swiss Army knife. She has so many abilities and options available to her that I'm constantly using my energy, filling the bar back up, and erasing it as I use it, filling it back up, erasing it as I use it, and it's ripping through the character sheet. And for this reason, I thought of the energy tracker. It will track both your energy and your overpower. My game has two types of energy. The energy is your basic one, using your basic abilities. Your overpower is a more potent form of energy that you use for larger spells and effects, and then for recovering your energy. But put the mechanics aside. What this tracker is tracking is not as important as how it's made, so that you could make something similar for your game, for whatever you're playing, for whatever you might need to track that is in turn destroying your character sheet. It's very simple, and I'm going to talk you through it. First off, you need a top plate, with the grooves for whatever sized magnet you're using to slide in and out of. My magnets, they're millimeter of some sort, but the 1/4 inch worked really well. So I did a 1/4 inch wide groove, and then for every number on the scale, I had a 1/4 inch space. So for example, that 11 scale for energy, 10 down to 1 and then 0, that is 2.5 inches long. Right? Did I get that right? No, 2 3/4. I forgot the 0. And then you're going to find some metallics that your magnets stick to. This is a dollar store cookie sheet. You can't get more cost effective than that, I think. And with a pair of tin snips purchased from Harbor Freight, I think they were $9 to $10. I had everything I needed. Now, you don't need a laser engraved and etched faceplate. You could make something similar out of a thick cardstock or even a piece of cardboard. What's important is the basic construction and sandwiching the bit of metal in between, and then using the magnets as slides. So now that I've got my faceplate, I take my cookie sheet, my dollar store cookie sheet, and I cut strips of metal larger than the groove, but not so large that it would stick past the borders of my tracker itself. And these are going to be they're going to handle all of the function of this tracker. The magnet combined with the metal is it. That is the most difficult part about it, trimming the metal. So if you can handle that, you've got it. I decided to back this with a piece of dollar store foam core. I did imagine using another piece of laser cut board, but it's a lot of wood smoke and some extra material that I didn't quite have, and I thought foam would be a little easier. It also is going to work easier for me because I want to countersink that metal into the foam so that the plate lays flush. But I'll show you that in just a second. With the plate put down on a piece of dollar store foam core with the paper ripped off, I draw out where my gauges are and then the edges on the outside of the tracker itself. This is going to show me the room in which I have to work and where I need to countersink or cut away some of that foam so I can countersink the metal into it. And now that I've got the bits sketched out, I'm just going to take my X-Acto, gently score the edges of the area where the metal plate will be hot glued in, and then I'm going to carefully countersink just a small depth. The cookie sheet's incredibly thin. You don't have to go very far down, and you actually don't want to. You don't want to cut through the foam completely. You want it to be whole on the backside. So carefully score it. Then you're going to cut out that section so that you can countersink that metal in. Check for fit, looks good, and then it's time to just put some hot glue down. Please be careful because the cookie sheet absorbs that heat from the hot glue very quickly. So when you put the cookie sheet down, the glue will dry a little quicker than it normally would because the heat is dissipating through the metal, and then the metal is also incredibly hot to the touch for a while. So push it down carefully, get it nice and flush with the surface of your foam, you're good to go. This particular tracker has two, so I'm going to get this smaller piece of metal countersunk in as well. And this is going to be the tracker for my overpower. Again, lightly score. Carefully take out just enough of the foam to countersink your metal into the foam so that the faceplate will lay nice and flat and flush to the foam. I know most of you aren't playing my game, but I find that this tracker is a great idea for all kinds of things that you might use consistently and might ultimately wreck your game sheet by drawing and erasing too much. Think hit points, think spell slots, stuff like that. If you've got some ideas on what you might make a tracker for, please put them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think of this project in general and how you could utilize something like it. Now, because I'm using wood, I don't want you to catch any splinters while you're sliding the magnets back and forth on the gauge. So I just tear off a little bit of sandpaper and I'm going to smooth the edges and just make sure that no one gets a splinter as they're using their energy gauge, their energy tracker. Once the edges are smoothed, I'm just going to hit the plate with hot glue, carefully leaving the areas bare where the gauges will be, but covering the rest in well-positioned amounts of hot glue. Then with the plate pushed down, and I'm using that earlier traced line to just make sure I get everything where it's supposed to be, and then just really push it down and let that glue harden, and it's gonna flatten the piece out, make it look nice and straight. Finally, it's time to address the magnets. If you have a thin material, like a chipboard, instead of this wood, you could just skip this step and slide the magnets manually as is. However, I like the tactile feel of these little buttons, so I'm kind of hot gluing a small glob or a button on top of the magnet. This just gives the magnet a nice little bit of grip. It sticks out above the wood and allows someone to manipulate the gauge rather easily. I really like how it turned out. I also found that if you stuck the magnets to some excess of your cookie sheet, it was much easier to control the putting down the glob. So a little tip from me to you. While your button globs are drying, it's time to trim off the excess to your gauge. This is where if any of the hot glue kind of come out the edges, no big deal. We're going to cut it down and cut it to the edge of your plate here. Again, I can't help but reference again, I know my plate is made out of wood, laser cut and engraved. Most of you won't have one of these tools lying around, but if you had a 3D printer, you could 3D print the whole darn thing in plastic if you wanted to. If you're good with modeling, you could use cardboard and just stencil out and cut from the cardboard. The idea really is that the metal with the sliding magnets along a gauge. That's really the core concept of this. You can see one magnet slides off and goes into each gauge, and we're good. Finished project. It was just that simple. I love it. I hope you did too. Smash that like button. Super thanks if you feel like I earned it. Subscribe to see more videos. I want to bring you all kinds of great stuff and content. Please subscribe so you can catch all of it. If you want to become a member and support the channel even more so, go ahead and do that. With $10 membership, you'll get access to my pen and paper game, The Broken. Thanks, everybody. Like each other, love each other, and craft on.